This presentation carries on from Toronto City Buses 1. It covers the bus purchases during the years from 1981 to 1990. In 1981, the TTC purchased 107 buses from Flyer Industries in Winnipeg. They were delivered in the TTC's new red, black, white, and gray livery. 8380 is approaching Jane on Annette Street. It is on its way back to Queensway Garage from the Hillcrest Duncan Shop. 8399 leaves Islington Station on the Islington 37 route, which was a shared route with the Queensway and Arrow Road garages. The Church 19 route was assigned to Eglinton Division. Flyer 8454 was one of two buses running on the last day of service. It is seen going southbound on Church from Bloor. Patronage was extremely low on this route, as riders would take the Yonge subway rather than take the bus. 8457 turns from Church to westbound Wellington and will loop at Bay Street to Front for the return trip to Bloor. This model had its headlight cluster and turn signals just above the front bumper. The low position made it difficult for motorists to see the bus signaling a turn. Future models would find the turn signals raised to below the windshield for greater visibility. '8420 was one of the first TTC vehicles to be painted as an advertising bus. The Yellow Pages IT bus ran all over the city from different garages. On this occasion, it is operating from Queensway Garage on the Evans 15 route. It's seen leaving Royal York Station. The success of this ad bus encouraged the TTC to open tenders for other ad bus contracts. Eventually, the technology evolved so that the cost to the advertiser was lowered, so more buses were done. This is a short clip of a grey coach Flyer in sightseeing service crossing Spadina on Richmond Street. Flyer 8486 was one of 10 buses of this series built to serve two purposes. One, a regular transit bus, and the second, an air-conditioned sightseeing bus. When the sightseeing season began in late April, the bus was converted to sightseeing operation by covering the TTC logos with grey line shields. In the fall, the shields were removed and it was converted back to a transit bus. The interior seating of the bus was different from a regular transit bus. The seats were contoured, had single backs, and were upholstered in tan leather, making for a more comfortable ride. A prominent air conditioning unit was mounted on the rear of the bus. It required heavy maintenance, and it was not long before the units were disconnected. Only in their final years were the units removed. These sightseeing buses spent most of their service life at Eglinton and Queensway garages. Sightseeing operation ended with the sale of grey coach, and after that, these buses were used for transit only. 8477 is seen in its final months of service as a 506 Carlton shuttle bus, while the track work at the Spadina and College intersection was being laid for LRT service. This group of 42 buses were delivered in 1981. Numbered 8520 to 8561, they were the first new looks to be delivered in the CLRV livery. Seen here is 8522 on the short-lived extension of the Wellesley bus to Hallam Street in Ossington. The Dovercourt portion of the route was replaced with the Rogers Road bus. 8557 is another from this group and is seen at Neville Loop being used as a shuttle bus on the Queen 501 line during track reconstruction. In this scene at Coxwell and Gerard, 8559 still has its sign curtain. '8560 crosses Danforth on its way to Main Station. You'll notice the area beside the front route sign is painted black. Other models were painted white. Between 1981 and 1982, 160 more GM New Looks were delivered. 8637 is seen in service on the 77B route to Bay Street, a few weeks before the opening of the Harbourfront LRT line. 8645 is an Eglinton Division bus and enters the Eglinton Bus Bay area. 8651 is a Lansdowne Division bus and is seen on the Maple Leaf route in 1985, complete with roll sign. These buses were distinguished by the white painted panels adjacent to the rear window. Later, the rear panels were painted black to match the other buses in the fleet. 8625 has just left the Rouge Hill GO station on the York Mills route. Conversion to electronic flip disc signs from roll signs was not an easy task for TTC workers, as the GM New Looks had smaller sign boxes. '8650 is seen on the last day of Caledonia 18 service to the Lansdowne station. The next day, the route would be extended along Davenport via Dovercourt to the Ossington station. This service ran for a number of years until the route was replaced by the Lansdowne bus extension. '8692 enters the Eglinton Station Bus Bay platform. '8726 was one of two buses painted up as a zoo bus to promote visits to the Toronto Zoo. It ran on most Eglinton routes for a number of years. The front of the bus was not painted so as not to confuse riders when it approached the people waiting at the bus stops. '8762, seen at Coxwell Station, was one of 246 GM New Look buses that were bought between 1982 and 1983. It was by far the largest fleet order to this date, and the last to be bought by the TTC. These were amongst the last of the GM new looks to be built, as the model was later discontinued. The new look had not been produced in the United States for a number of years, and the U.S. transit companies who wanted this model bought them from Canada. These buses originally had roll signs, but were converted to flip discs in 1991 and 1992. 8774 is westbound on Finch East, and in 1986 still had its roll sign. '8780 exits Eglinton Station onto Yonge Street on the Eglinton East route. 8784 is on the Lawrence East run to Rouge Hill GO Station. '8788 is in service on the new 121 front Esplanade route and has not as yet received its new sign curtain. This service was inaugurated to serve the area west of Spadina, replacing the western leg of the church route, as well as providing new service to the east on the Esplanade to the Parliament Loop. In this scene, a westbound bus turns from the Esplanade to Yonge, while the eastbound 121 bus approaches to turn left from Yonge to the Esplanade. Eastbound buses were later changed to turn right one block east of Yonge to Scott Street, and then south to the Esplanade, and then east to continue en route. With its Go Leafs Go message on its route destination sign, 8791 is on the former trolley bus Junction 40 route, and it is seen turning from Dundas Street into the Dundas West Station. '8841 is an Arrow Road bus exiting Islington Station. 8852, seen at Annette and Jane, is missing its GM nameplate. The garage personnel have replaced it with a TTC crest. Fishbowl buses were a common sight on this former trolley bus route until the Lansdowne garage closed. GM buses operated out of Lansdowne Garage on the Prince Edward route. Shortly after this scene was taken, Lansdowne closed, and the route was operated out of Queensway. It was very rare to find a fishbowl on this route after that, except on a change-off, because Queensway became an all-flyer division. '8861 is seen on a diversion from the Ossington route while the streetcar tracks in Ossington between Dundas and College were being replaced. 8871 is on detour routing, making a turn from westbound College to northbound Ossington during the morning rush hour. "8881 is a Danforth fishbowl running on the 87 Cosborne route from Broadview Station. "8883 enters the former Bicknell streetcar trolley bus loop in Ossington service. Later, a new Rogers Road bus replaced this service. When these scenes were taken, the overhead removal program had not yet begun. At Jane Station, 8885 picks up a rush hour crowd for its extra fare trip to Langstaff Road in Vaughan. New looks have long been a common sight on Jane. At Dovercourt and Hallam Street, 8895 sports a new but short-lived 94B Dovercourt roll sign that, when you think about it, should have read Hallam. "8899 is southbound on Spadina at Wellington. "8916 travels down Holly Street on the last week of service for this branch of the Avenue Road 5C route. Later, the service would go to the Eglinton station via Oriole Parkway and Eglinton Avenue. "8957 enters Woodbine Station, returning from the Parkview Hills branch of the Woodbine route. These 30-foot buses were put into service in the mid to late summer of 1982. They served smaller ridership routes like downtown, Church, and Rosedale. 8738 is on the downtown 27 route. As it approaches Yonge Street, a Church Orion passes by. This small Orion is on the 97 Yonge route from Steeles to Davisville Station. An Orion 1 bus is in rush hour service on the downtown Premium Express run, which ran from the top of Avenue Road to the Adelaide and University District. The bus was equipped with a smaller Detroit diesel 6V53 engine, but delivered 185 horsepower compared to a full-size bus at 181 horsepower. It also had a greater miles per gallon result than a full-size bus. It had a quick start. The one drawback was the one-piece front parlor door, which swung open. The bus was very hot in summer as the windows were sealed, except for hinged openings at the top. Earlier models were equipped with Lexan windows instead of glass that clouded up, making looking out of the window difficult. This order was unique in that it sported the livery that would be the standard TTC livery 13 years later. Here we see the bus in service in the short-lived Church via Front route, which traveled from Bloor to Front and then looped at Lakeshore and Bathurst. The TTC regarded these buses as oddballs and disposed of them before their planned retirement. They were bought by a broker, refurbished, and sold to smaller cities, and continued in service for a number of years. In 1982, 12 60-foot or 18.3-meter articulated GM buses were placed in service as part of a demonstration program sponsored by the provincial government's Ministry of Transportation. In all, 53 coaches were built for the province, the remainder of which went to Mississauga, Ottawa, and Hamilton. The coaches consisted of two sections. The first half, a basic new-look body, minus the rear end, with an articulation joint joining the rear section. This sort of a fishbowl GM trailer consisted of the motor and driving axle. This created a pusher mode of propulsion. The bus was powered by a 255 horsepower Detroit diesel Allison 8V 71N diesel engine. They had standy windows, unlike the standard TTC new look. The fishbowl glass front end was changed to a two-piece one. The front door area was extended to make it easier for passengers to enter the bus. Also, they were not air-conditioned or wheelchair lift equipped. They were based initially at Eglinton Garage and tested on Thorncliffe Park and Young routes. Later they moved to Malvern Garage, spending most of their time on the Finch East route. The bus seated 55 with 3 sets of doors. The interior was standard TTC. The front section seating was 2-1 front facing, with the rear section having side-facing seats from the rear doors to the back of the bus to provide for more standees. The TTC experienced problems with these buses in snowy, slippery weather because of the pusher operation. Those problems, as well as the mechanical ones, prompted the TTC to return the buses to the province. The program lasted 3 years, but it did encourage the TTC to investigate acquiring a limited number of this type of vehicle. The TTC GM buses were sent to Mississauga and lasted in service there until the early 1990s. In 2003, the only remaining buses of the original 50 still running are 8201, 8202, 8203 in Hamilton, and an ex-Mississauga GM Arctic, which was exported to Riverside, California for a historical collection. Ottawa has bought back one of the Hamilton buses for its historical fleet. Of all the cities having operated articulated buses in the past, Toronto is the only city in Canada that does not have any plans to buy any in the future. In 1985, the TTC took delivery of 123 D901 Flyer buses. 6,025 is seen in service on the short-lived Norseman 121 route in Etobicoke. These were the first Flyer buses equipped with power steering and a larger front route destination display. There was an additional order of 75 buses bought in 1986, which were equipped with TTC V731 electronically controlled transmissions. These buses were spread evenly over most of the system. The first order was numbered 6000 to 6122, and the second order was numbered 6130 to 6204. 6049 is seen on the last week of service for the downtown 27 route. These were the first 40-foot TTC buses to come equipped with 4 side turn indicator lights. $6051 is northbound on University Avenue, returning to the garage after completing its morning premium express run downtown. Spadina Bus 6060 was one of the first buses to have advertising shrink wrap applied to it. This series was mainly used for shrink wrap ads. $6051 was shrink wrapped to advertise the new NBA Toronto Raptors basketball team. The D901 bus appears to have been, over time, one of the more reliable orders the TTC received from Flyer Industries. These Flyer buses are seen turning into Eglinton Station. A special left turn lane was later put in to assist buses making the turns. When production of the GM New Look buses stopped, there was a need for a substitute. The RTS bus, which was the U.S. replacement for the Fishbowl, was not built in Canada. GM Canada began the Classic program in 1981 as the New Look's replacement. By the mid-1980s, they had sold a number of them to other Canadian transit properties. It was basically a New Look with a new body shell. A demonstrator bus in Kingston livery was sent to Toronto and ran out of Eglinton Garage, mainly on the Avenue Road route. The TTC liked what it saw, so they placed an order from GM for 84 units. They took delivery of 57 under the GM nameplate, and when GM sold the bus division to Motor Coach Industries, the remaining 27 had the MCI name sticker applied. Delivery was completed in 1987. Typical of the TTC policy at the time, a number of classic buses were distributed to Wilson, Queensway, Eglinton, Lansdowne, Davenport, and Malvern garages. 6226 is seen in service on the 55 Warren Park route with a special exposure on its sign curtain. New signs for routes 55 and 138 were installed on specific buses, but it was rare to see those buses on those routes. These were the first GM buses to not have a rear window. The most improved feature of the bus was the wider front door opening. Gone too were the fishbowl front window and the unique New Look side windows in favor of a flat front windshield and wider full-length side ones. 6227 pulls out of the yard at Lansdowne Garage to begin its service run on Kiel. $6258 pulls out of the St. Clair subway station and is in service on the South Leaside route. When these scenes were taken, 6231 ran out of Lansdowne Garage and had its roll sign replaced with a flipped disc sign. It is signed 6G, which is a bay short turn route to Dundas and Edward Street from Davenport, Yonge, and Yorkville. When these scenes were taken, the new Rogers Road route ran out of Eglinton Garage to the Bicknell Loop. (6227) is seen at Oakwood and St. Clair. (6254) sports an unique blue-colored Blue Night Network roll sign. The Bathurst Night Bus is on Fleet Street. It ran from St. Clair and Vaughan to the exhibition grounds. (6285) is an MCI sticker classic on the Finch East route. MCI Classic 6292 is shown in service on the 161 Rogers Road line, shortly before that route became fully accessible. This is a scene of a Lansdowne-based classic on the Runnymede Road route at the Queensway and South Kingsway. These 60 buses were purchased between 1987 and 1988. In 1986, Flyer Industries was sold to Den Oudstedt of Holland. The new owners were in the bus business in that country for over 60 years. They changed the name to New Flyer Industries. The plant operation in Winnipeg had been idle while the proceeds of finding a buyer and selling the business was taking place. Unfortunately, as the TTC later found out, this affected the quality of this series profoundly. These buses were distinguished by the horse collar ring between the windshield wipers and fiberglass sheathed body panels. A notable change was the positioning of the turn signals just below the windshield. Another new feature was the mega sign box, although the TTC's standardization policy did not allow for a larger display sign. This new bus design was more European than previous models. The other odd feature of this order and subsequent orders of these buses were the small rear taillight clusters. The lights were very hard to see and did not give off much illumination at night. Other properties were quick to replace them with more conventional bus taillights. Later, the TTC did retrofit them. 6302 is seen in the Humber Loop in service on Route 66. The rivet-free side panels allowed for the placement of bigger side advertising brackets for larger ads. Yield stickers were applied to the left rear part of the bus. 6304 enters the temporary bus loop at Islington and Bloor during subway station work. Flyer 6313 is on the Ossington 63A route and is short turning into the Oakwood Loop. This loop was shared by the 512 Oakwood short-turn streetcars. While all looked good on the surface, behind the panels was another story. Because of improper rust-proofing at the factory, there was excessive corrosion behind the panels. The TTC decided that they could not be rebuilt, and they were retired in 2000, well before their planned 18-year retirement date. A joint venture between Ontario Bus Industries and Ikarus Body and Coach Building Works of Budapest, Hungary, resulted in this bus. It was basically two vehicles, a stretched front and a stretched back, connected by a hinge and a turntable. The body was built in Hungary and assembled in Mississauga, Ontario. The engine was placed midship, and the rear wheels of the first section was powered in a T-drive configuration. The rear section was unpowered and pulled by the front section. It should be noted that there are only 2 wheels in the rear section, unlike the GM Artics that had 2 pair of rear wheels. The TTC purchased 90 units. The first, 6360 to 6419, were delivered between December 1987 to March 1988, and the second, 6530 to 6559, between December 1988 and February 1989. They were first placed in service running out of Eglinton Garage. They were later assigned to Arrow Road and Malvern garages, with a number of buses sent to Queensway and Wilson. Special hoists at Arrow Road, Wilson and Malvern had to be built to service them. They had extra wide front doors, which made loading and unloading at the subway stations quicker. Here they're seen in service on the Finch East route. They also ran on Steele's West out of Arrow Road Division. 6540 is making its turn from Yonge Street into the Finch Station, still sporting a roll sign. They were used on the Islington route from Steeles to the Islington subway station, and also via Rexdale Boulevard to Humber Line to serve the heavy student traffic to Humber College. They were powered by 270 horsepower Detroit diesel number 6L71TA engines at 2150 RPMs. Later they were used on the Dufferin route from Wilson Station to the Exhibition Loop, with a branch to Tycoast. Here the bus is seen turning onto Springhurst and then to the Dufferin CNE Loop. In the summer, the route was extended into the exhibition grounds to serve Ontario Place. As time passed, the buses were found to have stress fractures in their articulation joints. As a result, they were pulled off the road so an assessment could be made. The buses most severely affected were withdrawn from service, and the remainder were put back in service. Their numbers were gradually reduced on the Dufferin route, and later were removed completely. Sometimes they would appear as extras on the Jane 35 route to handle school runs. On this occasion, 6544 is seen entering the Jane station in the PM rush. In the west, they ran on York University Express and Steele's West Express out of Arrow Road. With the reduced numbers, they operated in the east mainly out of Malvern Division, where they were assigned to Finch East, Markham Road, and Steeles East. However, they could be found on any Malvern route in rush hours. "6427 was one of 15 buses that arrived in 1988, minus the horse collar. They were slightly different in that the aluminum window frames were missing from the front windows on both sides of the bus and from one rear window on the curb side. They were the first TTC buses to be ordered with rear safety bumpers. The buses came with roll signs. 6430 was fitted with the first demonstration electronic sign, but this mega style was not adopted. The TTC wanted all flip disc signs standardized. The larger display sign did not fit their policy. "6433 ran out of Davenport Garage and is being taken for a test run. Here is a view of the bus's interior. The bus proceeds behind Harvey Shops in the Hillcrest Yard, passing by the fueling station and buses awaiting repair work in Duncan Shops. It then runs up the ramp and into the garage. A week later, Davenport Garage was closed down, and the bus eventually moved to Queensway. "6446 was one of 82 buses that arrived in 1989, and one of the 10 of this series based out of Birchmount. When this video was taken at Meadowville Road in Shepherd East, the bus was running on the Scarborough 86A route to the Metro Zoo. This series, as well as the D4088s, were the first new flyers to have reduced wheelbase for greater maneuverability. "6457 is on the Runnymede 71 route on Coal Hill Drive on its way to the Queensway. Note that all the window frames are now painted black and not the exposed aluminum as in the previous order. 6474 still has a roll sign and is in service on the last week of the Avenue Road route via Chaplin Crescent, Yonge to Holly Street in Eglinton. "6477 is in service on the extended Lansdowne route to Yorkdale Station before the line was made wheelchair accessible. "6478 was based at Wilson Division when this video was shot, and is on the 42 Cummer route coming out of Finch Station. "6490 was transferred to Queensway Garage when Lansdowne closed, and is seen in service on the Annette 4 route. Also transferred to Queensway Garage was the Warren Park 55 route. 6493 is in rush hour service on this short line and is seen with the proper Lansdowne sign. .6503 is southbound on Strawn Avenue on its way to Ontario Place on the short-lived 63B Ossington route. .6510 was the second Yellow Pages IT bus to be painted up, and it ran out of Wilson Garage. It's seen on Wilson Heights days before the Spadina subway was extended to the new Downsview station. .9361 was one of two 40-foot, 96-inch wide Orion V special demonstration project buses that were sponsored by the provincial government. The TTC would only buy 102-inch wide buses, but accepted them for a trial period for testing. The TTC had earlier agreed to participate, along with Mississauga and Hamilton, in this compressed natural gas demonstration program with the province. They had a large tank on the top of them, which was filled with gas. They were based at Queensway Garage and ran on the Evans 15 route. They filled up with natural gas at the Shell station that was then located at the corner of Kipling and the Queensway. .9360 is seen on the Evans 15 route entering the Royal York subway station. When the program ended, the buses were sent to Go Transit for evaluation, and later one of the buses was sent to Edmonton for a trial period. In 2003, one of the buses was bought by York University and is used as a shuttle bus. The TTC had their doubts about the economy of the CNG program, but agreed to accept 25 of the new Orion V models for delivery in 1990. 9379 was one of 25 40-passenger, 40-foot, 102-inch wide CNG buses that arrived in July of 1990 to begin the government demonstration program. The bus is being used as a shuttle bus for the APTA convention in 1991. It had the standard TTC interior and a rear window, as it was not equipped with air conditioning. 9370 was the first bus to arrive, and it was also based at Queensway Garage and ran on the Evans 15 route. It was equipped with a roll sign. Later deliveries were equipped with the standard TTC flip disc electronic sign. As part of a $10 million expansion to Wilson Garage, a natural gas fueling station was built. It was capable of refueling 125 buses in 8 hours, with an average duration of 4 minutes per bus. The buses were assigned from Wilson to run mainly on Lansdowne, Rogers Road, Scarlett Road, Malton, York University, and Dufferin. With any new technology, there are usually problems. These buses had their fair share, as you can see by the open panel below the driver's window of 9383 as it passes by the former Lansdowne Garage. 6589 was one of 79 buses bought in 1990 from New Flyer. They were the first Flyers to be delivered with air conditioning, electronic flip disc destination signs, daytime running lights, and a front wheel kneeling feature that provided easier access for riders. In order to run these extra features, it was equipped with a higher horsepower engine, an LTA-10B Cummins diesel engine. This was the first TTC Flyer not to have a rear window. The extra weight at the rear of the bus was obvious as the rear end almost touched the ground, even when the bus was empty. It was a fast bus, which began its service life running out of Eglinton and Danforth garages. 6573 is seen on Pape Avenue, serving the Don Mills route. For a short time, these buses ran out of Queensway. 6610 makes a rare appearance on the Prince Edward 66 route, without ad brackets. .6613 is southbound on Yonge 97 at Heath Street, a few blocks north of St. Clair. .6612 exits Jane Station on the short-lived 138 South Kingsway route. .6622 turns the corner of Bloor to Jane on the Annette 4 route. These buses didn't last long at Queensway and were later sent to Arrow Road. New Flyer 6632 exits the Eglinton subway station portal to Yonge Street on the former 103 Northtown East trolleybus route. A cyclist tempts fate as he darts out in front of 6634, almost colliding with an adjacent car. The bus is on the Trethewey branch of the Eglinton West route. As 6636 passes southbound on Yonge at Gould on its way to Front, we can see that the east side of Yonge Street has changed dramatically since 1990. Unfortunately for these buses, their transmissions and rear wheel rims later had to be replaced. This model 05-501 was the first 102-inch wide bus produced by Ontario Bus Industries. In 1990, the TTC ordered 106 of this model to be delivered in 1991. 6663 is being used as a shuttle bus for the 1991 APTA convention, which was held in downtown Toronto. This model seated 39 riders and was equipped with air conditioning, flip disc electronic front and side route destination signs, stanchion-mounted buzzer buttons to signal stop requests. They also had other features to aid the visually impaired and seniors, as well as an improved instrument cluster and driver's seat, plus a kneeling feature to lower the bus to curb level. They were sent to Queensway, Davenport, and Birchmount garages. In this scene, a middle-aged woman has put on her track shoes and sprints across Barrie Road to catch the new Orion V, no doubt wanting to experience the bus's air conditioning and new features. This Queensway Garage base bus is turning to Prince Edward Drive from Barrie Road. The Barrie Road Plaza has been replaced by 20 luxury townhouses, and a four-way stop intersection has been created, replacing this gentle curve. $66.91 is seen coming out of the Islington subway station on the Burnhamthorpe 50 route, while a Mississauga Transit Orion V also leaves the station. $67.03 is on the Royal York route, turning northbound from the Royal York station. It was not long before these buses were transferred to Eglinton Garage. $66.88 is on diversion on the 77 Spadina route, while the Spadina and College intersection is being torn up for streetcar track installation. Orion V's also operated out of Davenport Garage, serving Rosedale, Wellesley, and Sherburne routes. These buses were transferred to Malvern Garage when Davenport Garage closed. Orion V 6722 is seen resting at the end of the Rouge Hill Route 13 on the last week of service. The route was replaced by the 85A Shepherd East branch. Unfortunately, a great deal of warranty work had to be done to this model. Part 3 of this series will bring TTC bus purchases up to 2003 and will feature demonstration buses, leased buses in service, and also a number of bus charters which will be included for nostalgia purposes.